Hi, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Zone TV. And show is Do You Believe? Thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. So I thought I would bring us a really fun show tonight since next week is St. Patrick's Day. And I think the Irish call it St. Paddy's Day. So our guest tonight, and please, if you're new to the show, if you would please subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And don't forget to give the show a like. We have a fun show, like I said, and my guest is, let me show you, this is Mai Hernon. And now you're not on yet. She has the secret haunted journey to Ireland. And she has tours. It's My Secret Island Tours in Ireland. And that is our guest tonight. Hi, let me bring on. And so Mai, she does this haunted tours in Ireland. And we picked out, I picked out 5 of them I wanted to for her to talk about tonight. And May, you want to tell them a little bit more about yourself before we start the show?
Hi, well, thank you very much, Norene. First of all, for having me on the show, and thank you to all your listeners for tuning in to listen to this crazy Irish woman telling you all about the haunted places in Ireland. My name is Mai Hernon, and I actually come from a small little village in County Sligo in the northwest of Ireland, and I moved over to the States just 7 years ago now. So then I set up Secret Ireland Tours. It's a tour company. I bring people over to Ireland on different types of vacations and themed tours. But the one you're talking about is a Secret Haunted Journey to Ireland. We actually are holding this tour during Halloween. And you know yourself, Noreen, or maybe you don't, maybe your listeners don't know, Halloween originated in Ireland. So I'm bringing people over back home to Ireland, and we're going to go to all the haunted places, and you've got a list of them there that we'll be visiting. And there's a lot of traditions and folklore and festivals and practices that we still do over in Ireland, believe it or not, with regard to Halloween. So that's what the tour is about. We're basically bringing people over and celebrating Halloween as it is celebrated over in Ireland.
May's tour, at the bottom of this description of the video on YouTube, I have a link to her website if you want to check it out. And then you can also check out the haunted locations that she does on her tour. She does some really good ones. So I wanted to start with the Leap Castle. I had heard about this Leap Castle, but I never really checked into it. And oh my God, when I started reading about it.
It's actually the highlight of the tour, Noreen. What's happening with the tour is there's one group of people coming in on October the 26th, and they're leaving on November the 3rd, and the second group are coming in October the 30th, and they're leaving on the 7th. And for the period of Halloween, the 31st of October and the 1st of November, they're both overlapping. And one of the highlights of the tour, on the 1st of November, both of the groups are being brought up to Leap Castle. I used to call it Leap Castle as well until I got talking to Sean Ryan, who owns the castle. He's a very well-known traditional musician. And he said it's Leap Castle. So I was corrected very quickly on it. But it is an amazing place. It's extremely haunted. They reckon that it is the most haunted castle in Europe.
Well, let's get started. Let me show them the owner. This is Sean Ryan. How long ago did he buy the house?
Oh, he's been in this house probably 15 or 20 years now at this stage.
I think 1991 is when he purchased it.
Yeah. And I actually met his daughter recently. She is a harpist, and you'd often see, if you'd see a picture of him, you'd often see a harp behind him. She tours with Riverdance.
She does?
She does, yeah.
Oh
She's
my
a lovely
God.
girl. She's a lovely girl, but he's a lovely whistle player as well. My son, who is he's a tour guide with me, and he plays the flute and the whistle. So whenever we go up, the two will have a few tunes in the kitchen.
Oh my God, yeah. I love that river dance.
Yeah.
I always wanted to learn how to do that, but who was going to teach me unless you came and visited me and you could teach me how to do it.
I'll teach you, no problem.
I would love to learn. Is it really complicated?
It's, it just takes practice. Actually, Michael Flatley, the guy who originally danced in it, his father comes from about 5 miles from my home place.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
He comes from a place called Culfada, and my father actually went to school with him for a while.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
So let's get started. All right, so we
Sure.
show the owner. Now, I have an old picture of the Lep Castle,
Yeah.
and let me show what it looks like today if I can find it. Maybe I don't have the new one.
Well,
Oh yeah, here. I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it?
It's basically the same. So start telling the story about this.
Well, Sean would often talk about, what he has experienced. And you have talked about, what did you call the incidental?
Oh, the elemental.
The elemental. Now, Sean would always talk about the ghost that he has experienced, and he has told us about these two little girls that he sees playing every so often. One of them, it's so clear to him. One of them is called Charlotte, and the other one is called Emily, and they're very English-sounding names. But then again, a lot of the people at the time would have called their children by English-sounding names, just to be kind of up with the Joneses, I suppose. But one of them, he reckons that she's about 7 and the other one is about 12. And he sees them playing on a regular basis. And then this other woman appears. Normally when the children are playing, this other woman appears, and he calls her the governess because she's always around the children, or she's always appears. And sometimes she pokes people, or you'd feel her as you're walking across the room. You'd feel her, she'll bump into you, or she'll poke you. She pokes his daughter on a regular basis, which is funny, But anyhow, he reckons that at night time he can hear screams, and he thinks that it's the screams of Emily, the little girl who crawled up. The story is that the child crawled up to one of the towers in the castle, and she fell down, and as she was falling down, she was screaming. So he hears the screams, and he sees the two little girls playing, and he sees this old woman. But also in that castle there's a church upstairs. Now the two brothers, the O'Darby brothers, were it was left to the estate, and the castle was left to two brothers, and a kind of a disagreement came about by both of them arguing about who was going to eventually run the whole shebang. And one of them was a priest, and the priest can be seen on a regular basis walking around the area where the church was. The brother came in one day, the priest was saying mass, and he had a small congregation in the church, and the brother came in and he murdered everybody. And there was an awful slaughter in that church, and it's said that the brother can be seen walking around in the church. And also just off the church there's what we would call a murder hole. Now you put another name on it.
The obulate.
Yes, well,
it's French. It's French for left alone, I think.
We call them murder holes, and you'd see them in nearly every castle.
In every castle?
Every castle in Ireland, you'd have this murder hole where an enemy or somebody who would have been captured trying to break into the castle, they would be thrown down this hole, and they'd land on spikes, wooden spikes at the bottom, and they'd be left there. And if the spikes didn't kill them, they'd die of probably bleed out or whatever, And a good few years ago now, I think that particular murder hole was excavated, and 30 carts of bones were taken out of the place. And you were saying that you did a bit of research.
Yeah, I did. My research was they took out 150 skeletons, and that's what they think awoken the spirits and this elemental that I'm showing everybody.
Well, the funny thing is, Sean has said, now he'll tell you about all the ghosts, because there's supposed to be 40 other ghosts in the castle. There was a group of people from the local village who used to go up and work in the castle, and for some unknown reason, the owner of the castle at the time, he invited them up and he had them up for a dinner, but he poisoned each and every one of them.
Oh yeah, I read that.
And they can be seen and they can be felt around the castle as well. But Sean would talk about the governess, and he'd talk about the two little girls quite a bit.
So on my research that I have, would you mind if I read it?
Go on ahead, because you might teach me something that I don't know.
Well, I did a lot of research and on this because I was so interested in it. So now this is what they say about the Bloody Chapel. Okay, let me show you a picture of the Bloody Chapel. This is the Bloody Chapel. So they say that bright lights streaming out of the upper windows. This occurrence has been reported since the time of the Darbies, when the castle was left burnt out as a burnt out shell after 1922 burning. Then there's bright lights in the chapel. Strange smells of rubber have also been reported during people's visit to the upper hall. And one of the most well-known is referred to as O'Carroll's priest, like you said.
Yes.
After the death of Mulroney O'Carroll in 1532, a fierce power struggle developed within the remaining O'Carroll family. The brother fought against brother to gain leadership. Legend has it that an O'Carroll murdered his brother while a priest performing a mass in the upper hall of the castle. And it is believed that the priest started the mass before the arrival of his brother, and this was considered to be a great insult. The angered O'Carroll then fell into a rage, slaughtered his brother where he stood, and the priest has been seen, like you said, on many occasions at the castle.
Yeah.
Let me. What?
And you know,
Go
the
ahead.
funny thing, Noreen, is I have brought people up to the castle, and there's one very famous psychic medium that I do tours with. This guy, Victor Peruta is his name. He runs the Victory of Light, and he has come to Lep Castle, and my son has gone up the stairs with him. Now, as soon as you walk in the door, you can feel it. There's this heaviness and pressure, and my son he told me when he went in with Victor, and Victor, I think, experienced more or less the same thing. My son said that he got double vision as soon as he walked in the door of the castle, and when they were going up the stairs, he said that he was finding it extremely hard. He felt that he was being pushed down.
Really?
The stairs, and the stairs are very circular, they go around in a circle, you know, and he said that he felt that there was a presence and that they were pushing him down the stairs, and Victor said the exact same thing. He says there was definitely a pressure and a presence in the place.
So let me tell them about this elemental, which is really, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so during the occupation of the Lep Castle by the Darbies, the obulate was cleaned and the contents removed during some of the renovations. It is said Mai said 3 cartloads of skeletons were removed from the obulate during this period. Some believe that this gruesome discovery woke up many spirits, including this elemental. And let me see what I have on it. Okay, let me go back over here. So this elemental is one of the most interesting spirits that reside at the Lep Castle. It's an entity that's shrouded in mystery and intrigue. The first encounter, origin, and exact number of the elemental are unknown, but there are many theories that have circulated over the years. As mentioned, the time of its appearance is not certain, but there have been vague mentions of a troublesome spirit at the Lep Castle ever since the early times. And early theories that the elemental was put there by Druids long before the castle was built to protect the sacred site used for initiations and Druid magic.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Let's see what else they say. Another theory is that the elemental was placed there. Let me show them again the picture. That the elemental was placed there by an invading force to burn the castle from the inside. The person responsible is thought to be Gerald Fitzgerald, Earl of Kildare. Local myths say that the elemental is the spirit of an ancient O'Carroll who died in the castle from leprosy. This is said to be the reasoning for the decomposing facial features and appalling stench that accompanies the presence of this spirit. Mildred Darby. Now, tell them who Mildred Darby is, because she's all a part of this Lep Castle.
She was very much into the occult, and she used to have seances and all sorts of underworld things going on in Lep Castle. She would have been very much, very seriously into witchcraft and the occult and everything like that. And locals would have thought her to be a witch, actually.
They taught her to be a witch?
No, they thought that she was.
Oh, she was a witch.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah. I guess it kind of makes sense, and she used to dabble in the occult, seances and automatic writing, they said.
Yes, there was seances. She'd hold seances in the castle.
Wow. That's freaky. So let me see. I think, okay, so we know about the bloody chapel. And we know about the priest house. Yeah, she said that Mildred Darby described the apparition. Something heavy lies on people's beds and snores. They feel the weight of a great body pressing against them in a room in the priest's house. And they say that a monk walks in one window and out the other in the priest house.
Yeah. Well, Sean, again, the guy that lives there, and he's lived there now for a long time, he would have seen the priest himself. The actual priest, he believes it to be the priest that he would have seen. So maybe the priest was a monk as well. I'm not quite sure.
Well, if they saw a monk, yeah, that would make sense. I don't know. I don't think in those days they had a priest like what we have today.
No, not like
they
that.
were
Exactly.
probably monks. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I had asked May about this, and I had found this on a site. This is where I found this. Let me see if I took. Okay, I found this story on this website, and I had asked May about it. This is Lep Castle, and this is the website. I have it somewhere. I think I may have written down at the bottom of the video. Anyway, they talk about, in this Lep Castle, they talk about this lady in red.
Yeah.
Okay, so the lady, it's one of the spirits encountered from the time of the Darbys, and it's known as the Red Lady. A tall, dark woman in the historic scarlet silk dress it rustles. She haunts the Blue Room. Do you know about the Blue Room?
No, I don't.
Okay. And it's always used, it used to be used as the nursery, and she sobs at the foot of the children's beds. She has been seen carrying a dagger in her hand, raised in a menacing manner. A strange luminescence is seen radiating within her. People encountering this spirit comment on an immense cold feeling, the room and the permeating into their heart. It is thought that the woman was captured by an O'Carroll and she was raped. A baby was born as a result, then killed by O'Carroll, reasoning that they could not afford to feed the child. And distraught, the woman then killed herself with that same blade.
So that, I wonder, that doesn't sound like the governess that Sean sees all the time.
Does he ever?
I wonder, would it be one of the same, that woman, the lady in red and the governess?
Did he ever
talk about? Because he said that the governess, he calls her the governess. He says she's always around when the children appear.
Okay.
She will appear shortly after the children will appear.
That makes sense. I bet you that's who it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's a very, very haunted castle, and he's really nice, Sean is, and he would sit and he'd talk to you about different stories about the castle, and he'll play a few tunes if you want him to play a few tunes. And he's taken on this, he's trying to do this all himself. He's trying to redo the castle and remodel it, because a lot of it is just ruins,
Yeah.
So pity, it'd be nice to see it all done up, but you do what you can. You try and bring people to it, and so far people have really enjoyed going to the castle.
I would think it would cost a fortune to redo all that
Oh,
stone.
it would.
So when he bought that why did he buy the castle? Did he say?
I think that his bloodline goes back to the O'Carrolls or the Darby's. I think somewhere along in his bloodline, it would go back to them, and he decided that it would be better that it would stay in, even though it was sold to somebody from Australia at one stage, and then he bought it from that person.
Oh,
but he wanted to kind of keep it in the family, as far as I know now.
Wow, that's pretty haunted. And
but it'd be a great place to go. It is, as I said, it's the highlight of the tour, you know, and people are looking forward to going there.
Oh God, I would love to go there, but I wouldn't live there. I'll tell you that. Does he ever talk about being bothered by the spirits when he's sleeping or during the day?
No, he did say that most of the time he hears things more at night, and he has heard this child scream. It's the screams of a child, and he thinks it's Emily falling down from. He says, but normally, he says, you get used to it. It's not really. There's no pattern to it. They don't just appear every so often, you know. You never know when they're going to appear. And he said, you know, now and again you'd be walking through some place, and at the corner of your eye you'd see a shadow. And but he says it really doesn't bother him. At night time, when the castle is very quiet, that's when he can hear things, and he hears footsteps, and he hears moaning, and he hears the screaming. But he didn't ever say that it keeps him awake at night or anything. I think they're used to it. He did say, however, that he has never come in contact with, what do you call it?
Oh, the elemental.
The elemental. He's never seen the elemental. He has never felt the elemental, and he doesn't want to.
I don't blame him.
That's the way he puts it. I wouldn't blame him either.
But they said this elemental doesn't really bother you unless you provoke it or try to contact it. So if somebody was doing a seance or a Ouija board in the castle, then they might have some contact with it.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah,
go ahead.
I'd imagine we have a lot of. Now, there are some places left on the tour, but there's a few psychics and a few people like that, and mediums coming on this tour. And there's actually a few people from Australia coming on the tour as well. So I'm going to give them the whole day. We're going to bring them down early in the morning, and then they have the whole day, and they can go ghost hunting them for the whole day.
Oh.
And they'll be well hungry in the evening time, Noreen. They'll be ready for their food.
What fun. So let's see, what are we going to do next? Oh, how about this? I never heard of this. The Wicklow Jail? What's that all about?
Oh, Wicklow Jail. Wicklow Jail would have seen an awful lot of death and destruction and violence and murder and whatnot. It would have been, you would have seen, let's say, Wicklow Jail. Oh, it would have been built probably in the 14th or 15th century, and it would have the 1798 rising would have held a lot of the patriots who were trying to gain Ireland's freedom from England. They would have been brought into Wicklow Jail, and there would have been, well, a lot of them had a very hard life in Wicklow Jail. And again, then during the 1916 rising, and during that time, a lot of people would have been arrested and put into Wicklow Jail. A lot of the IRA people who were trying again to fight for the freedom of Ireland from England. And a lot of torture went on there, but it's very haunted.
Yeah, they said that overcrowding, bad food, and non-existent medical facilities.
Oh, there was nothing. I mean, they were treated like, you know, they wouldn't be treated like human beings at all. And a lot of times people, let's say during the famine times and things like that, you could be at home in Ireland during the famine times, if you caught a fish in a river that was running through an Englishman's estate, you could be arrested and thrown into Wicklow Jail first of all before you were transported to, let's say, Van Diemen's Land or New Zealand or some of the colonies, you know.
Oh, that.
And they would have been starved. A lot of them would have been starved before they ever left Wicklow Jail.
They say that only the bravest of ghost hunters will tackle this property, which has earned its reputation of one of the most haunted places in Ireland. And now this let me show them again. This Wicklow Jail was featured on Ghost Hunters International, of course, because it was in Ireland.
Yeah, and Leap Castle was actually featured on Ghost Hunters International as well.
Oh, who?
Yeah.
Regular ghost hunters or the international?
I think it was one of these American programs, Ghost Hunters, whatever you call it. Yeah, they visited Leap Castle and they visited Wicklow Jail.
Also, now they say supposedly locally it's been named the Gates of Hell.
Yes, and there's down the road from it. Oh God, what's the name of the place? It was the ruins of a castle, Black Devil's Castle or something. It's called.
Oh, do you tour that one?
It's just the ruins. There's very little left in it. But this time when we go to Wicklow Jail, I'll bring them down to the ruins of that castle. It's only a 5-minute walk away, so we do that.
Okay, I searched out. I did some searching on some hauntings, if I can share them, and I got this from irishsentinel.com.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that? Okay, so about the ghosts. All right, they say that the Irish, let me show them the jail again while I'm talking about it. The Irish psychic Lewis Kings, he has managed to profile many of the restless spirits that inhabit the historic jail. He described one of the most deep emotional experiences he had with a spirit called Grace. She was just 7 years old. She had died of gangrene after breaking a leg. She had been living in the jail with her parents. A jail guide, Marie Comerford, she said, over the last 10 years, tourists and staff have regularly seen a young boy in the prison schoolroom. A lady in her late 20s, dressed completely in black, who walks in out of the jail cell 22. And a cold, eerie mist that envelops the walkway to the first floors of the cell. Have you experienced any of that?
I have. You see, this is my first time bringing a group to Wicklow Jail. Now, I do tours all over Ireland, and it's not all haunted places. So this is one of the haunted tours. But Wicklow Jail, this is my very first visit to Wicklow Jail.
Oh.
I was supposed to go there before, and something happened, and we had to cancel. And I can't remember what it was now. But we were supposed to go there one time before, so I'm really looking forward to going to Wicklow Jail to see it.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of like we're going to what's the name of it? Kilmainham Jail in Dublin. And you know, even if you're not into hauntings, Norene, even if you're just into history, the place is just amazing. It is now a museum, but it goes back to, again, before famine times, and then it goes to where the people of the 1916 Rising were jailed there, and they bring you out to the yard where they were shot. And one of them actually, he got injured during the fighting, and he couldn't stand up, so they put him in a chair and they shot him as he sat in the chair.
Oh.
And the whole place, you can feel it, the whole place when you're walking through it and you see the jail cells and everything. It really is amazing. And then there's a place where you can see all these letters that were gathered from, you know, soldiers to their families and different historical artifacts. And it really is an amazing place to visit. And again, even I remember bringing people to Kilmainham Jail, and even when you're in the line waiting to get in, because this place is very, very famous, you can feel the presence outside. They used to hang people outside the front door, and you can feel it. You can actually.
Oh, I can.
You can feel the presence.
I can imagine.
And it's a dark presence, a dark, eerie presence. It's really, really. It's kind of it's oppressive. That's what it is, really.
Yeah, I love haunted history. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's see. What are we going to do next? Oh, let's do this. What do you want?
Belvedere House.
No, no, no. I'm saving that
No,
for
all
last.
right.
Let's
Okay.
do. This is so fascinating to me. I can't. The Carrowmore.
Oh yeah.
How do you
Oh yeah.
pronounce that?
There's megalithic tombs. Now there's Sligo. Now, if I'm talking too much, Noreen, tell me. It's
No.
just that I get on the tangent and I love this stuff.
No, go ahead, May. Go ahead.
Coming from Sligo, I'll give your audience a little lesson in Irish. The Irish word for Sligo is Sligoch. Now, that actually translates as Shelley Place. And if I was to bring you for a walk in Sligo Bay, and when the tide is out, you would see an abundance of massive shells and shellfish, and the land is actually layered with shells. So Sligo is one of the oldest inhabited places in Ireland, because the people came up, when they originally came to Ireland, they came up by the south and the west coast, and because Sligo was so it was so obvious that it had an abundance of food, that's where they stopped, and that's where they landed and stayed. And because of that, we have these things called cairns, C-A-I-R-N-S. We call them cairns. They're underground passage tombs, and they're megalithic tombs. And you can actually, let's say 7 miles from where I grew up is a place called Carrowmore. It's on the top of the Brickleaf Mountains, and all of these tombs would be on a height or a mound, and they're all aligned so that either the winter solstice or the summer solstice, the sun will go through. I'll explain what they look like first of all. They look like a big mound of stone.
Oh, I'm showing them pictures.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so, well, why do
And
they call it a cemetery and not tombs?
they're underground passage tombs, and they were what happened was, during that megalithic time, the bodies of the chieftains would be put in. Now, the tomb in Carrowmore, which is South Sligo, it has a major tomb, a major chamber, and then 3 chambers off it. You can crawl into it, and then you can stand up. And it's believed that the bodies were left in there with some food and with some jewellery, and they believed in the underworld, and they believed that the passage, the spirit would pass from this world through the passage tomb into the next world. And then 2 years later or 3 years later, the bones would be removed. Now, we don't know what they did with the bones, but the bones would be removed from the underground passage tombs. Now, there's one in Carrowmore in Sligo, and it is on the Coolara Peninsula, and it's kind of the centre of a whole ring of underground passage tombs and cairns. And the amazing thing about these are, in Carrowmore, for instance, if you have a picture there of Carrowmore, there is there's an entrance, there's a stone in front of the entrance, then you crawl in, but above the entrance capstone, there's a slit, and then there's another capstone. And during the summer solstice, the sun will come up from behind the mountain, and it will shine directly in between the space between the 2 capstones, and it'll light up the inner chambers.
Oh.
And across the country, directly across the country, Noreen, you have Newgrange, and that same event happens for the winter solstice. So everything is opposite. Carrowmore, you have the winter and the summer solstice. It's 1 chamber in Carrowmore. Now, Carrowmore predates the pyramids by 800 years.
No.
All of these, and actually it just shows you how old Ireland is. There was a skeleton found near one of these passage tombs in Sligo, and it was dated to be 8,000 years old, carbon dated 8,000 years old.
No
and then
way.
and then these stones. Another amazing thing about these stones, and there's in Carrowmore near Sligo. I'll be bringing people to this for this tour. In Carrowmore, right beside that chamber or that dolmen, there's a stone circle right beside it, and it's all lined up with another cairn that's up on the top of the mountain, and it all, when the summer solstice, the sun shines, it shines one way, and then the winter solstice will come along and it'll shine the other. But the stone that is used in these sites is called gneiss, Gneiss, and it's actually crystal quartz. And the amazing thing about this place is, when you walk into these stone circles, you're actually walking into a temple, because the stone, the crystal, or the quartz will take the energy from the ground, but the crystal will take the energy from the sun. And it's a kind of a marriage of two energies. It's kind of like male-female. It's, there's an absolute special energy in these places when you walk into them.
Okay, but now this one that they call the cemetery, with all these big boulders that go, in order to get to them, you would pull away the big boulder and you can go into it?
No, in Carrowkeel you cannot, no, in Carrowmore, sorry. You cannot, you can see in, but in Carrowkeel you crawl in. You go behind.
Oh, I don't have any information.
The main stone, yeah. You go behind the main stone, and I wonder, do I have it here? Let me just see.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to know about the cemetery. Go ahead if you have it.
It's called a megalithic cemetery or a megalithic tomb, or
Okay,
it's actually underground passage tombs or dolmens, which is still what you're looking at there with the Carrowmore. That would have originally been, you see all the stones that's around it, that is behind that fencing. If it's the same picture I think you're showing people, those stones would have originally been on top of that dolmen or that chamber. Those
okay,
flat stones
yeah.
and the stones going up. And all around that particular one, there are smaller ones as well. And then there's a very big one called Queen Maeve's cairn up on the top of Norene, the mountain that's just behind that. And everything is aligned up. All of these are aligned. For instance, that Carrowmore dolmen is lined up with the Hill of Tara, which is across the country.
But what's underneath these stones? They call it a cemetery. Are there bodies?
No, there's not bodies, because it would have originally been, a cemetery really is not a good name for it, because they're underground passage tombs. They would have been regarded during the Druids' time as being a place to bring the body, where the spirit would move from this earth right underneath to the underworld.
Oh, okay. Huh. That's interesting.
And you're talking about these places they're 500, 600, 700, 800 years before the pyramids. Now, across the country, then you've got Newgrange, which is a bigger underground passage tomb, and it's an amazing place as well. And again, it has the entrance stone, the big stone outside, and you can walk into that. You don't have to crawl into it. You can walk into that underground passage tomb. Wow. And again, you've got the main chamber, and you've got 3 chambers off it.
Wow. Okay, never heard of it. Wow, that's very interesting.
But the energy in these places is amazing, Noreen. You've got to experience it. You've got to feel it. It really is. It's an amazing. I think there's probably energy lines and ley lines. These people knew what they were doing. Believe you me, they knew what they were doing. They were very close to energy and the ley lines of the land. Wow. And the amazing thing about it is, at certain times of the year, for instance, Carrowkeel, it's up on the top of the Brickleaf Mountains. Now, we can visit it depending on the weather. You can drive up so far, and then you have to walk up the rest of the way. But there's 14 cairns on that mountaintop, in different areas of the mountaintop. And the amazing thing is, at a certain time of the year, it mirror images what's going on in the sky.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
It is amazing. And another amazing thing about Carrowkeel, um, before I moved over here, when I grew up, I lived about 7 miles as the crow flies from it. So then I went the other side of the mountain and I lived about 5 miles from it. So Carrowkeel, there's a little town near it, about 7 miles away, which is called Boyle. And there was a woman in Boyle, and she maintained that she used to see UFOs coming and hovering around Carrowkeel.
I believe it. Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah, the thing about it was, people used to laugh at her.
Mm.
But she left a lot of information, and there was this German guy that used to come and visit her, and she died, she passed away, but he kind of took up all the information that she had written, and he started really going into it in a big way. And I was told that guy can predict when these UFOs are going to come. Now, when I go home, the next time I go home, I'm going to have to search this guy out.
Oh, yes.
It would be amazing to see. But on that, we lived in the country. Now, when I say the country, I mean there was no artificial lights. You lived by the light of the moon, and you lived by the light of the stars. I mean, we didn't have, lamps or what do you call it, street lamps or anything like that. So one night my son was coming home with his friend. The friend lived about a mile from the house, and my son and his friend were walking back to our house. And he comes in and he's kind of shook.
Oh.
And I said, what's wrong?
Hold on for a minute, honey. I forgot to unplug the phone.
Okay.
Oh, God. All right, hold on. Let me unplug the phone. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, guys, about that.
No problem. But anyhow, they were coming back from his friend's house, and he walks in, and he's really shook. And I says, what is wrong? And he says, well, ma'am, I don't know what I just saw. We just saw something. And I says, what did you see? And he says, well, there was this light, and it was really going fast across the sky, really fast, back and forth, and then it stopped. And he says, and it dropped down a bit, and then it broke off into 3 lights, and it went 3 different ways.
Wow.
And he says, I'm not quite sure what I saw. And they didn't know what, but hearing about this German guy, it makes me think that what they saw was probably a UFO.
Oh, absolutely. That's what it sounds like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do one here. Leishan House. Is that correct?
Lisheen House.
Lisheen, okay.
It used to be called Seafield House. The people that originally built it, his name was William Bibbs, and he built it around 1798 or so, or it was finished around 1798. He was an English lord or an English gentry, and this used to be his holiday home. It's beautiful. It's in a beautiful part of the country. It's in Sligo, and it's right beside a place called Strand Hill, which is a seaside resort. And he used to come there on a regular basis, and he had a nephew who he left the house to eventually. The nephew was called Arthur Phipps, and he was an archaeologist who used to go out on digs in Egypt and in far-off places. He loved bringing artifacts back to the house, and he had actually a room. Now, this was a good-sized house. It was a beautiful house in its day. He had this long room. It was called the museum room, and he used to bring artifacts back from his digs. But it's said that he brought the head of a mummy or something, and it's said that this artifact that he brought back poltergeist attached to it. And within a couple of weeks of him bringing this thing back and putting it in the room, all of a sudden, all of the staff just ran out of the house one day, and about 2 or 3 days later, he and his family left the house, and they just left it there.
Yeah, it's in ruins now. What a shame.
It's in ruins now. I mean, eventually people went in and started stealing stuff, and the roof was removed eventually. And but it's the ruins of it is there. The locals they don't like it. They won't go near it. There was supposed to be a poltergeist in it. It's supposed to be a nasty poltergeist, and they reckon that the local kids would have sometimes gone around playing in it, and nobody will go near it now.
Oh yeah, they say that it's called the place of evil.
Oh yeah, and it's dangerous. Even though there's only walls and there's a lot of ivy around the walls, they reckon that a stone could come out of nowhere and hit you.
Oh yeah, they say unearthly sounds. Now, They say unearthly sounds come from a basement, but is there a basement in the ruins?
It's all ruins now.
Okay.
You wouldn't even see anything, it's literally just walls and ivy, and it's all overgrown and everything.
Yeah, they say.
But it's the locals won't go near it.
So I guess they said when the house was built by Phibbs in 1842, the son, like you said, was an archaeologist. They were housed in the treasures were housed in a long gallery on the first floor, which became known as the museum. And then the problems began soon afterwards, particularly unpleasant and malicious poltergeists.
Yeah.
A strange figure was often seen in the stairway at night. Let me show the house again. A strange figure was seen in the house at night, accompanied by terrible loud crashes heard throughout the house. Broken pottery and ornaments would be found the next morning. And then on one occasion, the whole house shook violently, and that's when everybody left the house in terror. I guess they wouldn't come back.
They wouldn't come back. I mean, even the servants at the time said that things would be thrown at them. They never knew when something was going to go flying off the shelves and be thrown at them. Literally, cups and things like that would actually be thrown at them. So they just left. They knew it was after this one particular thing that this guy came back and put in the long room. And it was after that incident that everything started going crazy. And they just left.
They said that a gardener had the bejesus frightened out of him by a tall, dark, shadowy figure which disappeared into the city, laughing like a maniac. They said the house had, and then now they named it Seafield.
But we call it Lisheen House.
Yeah, why was the name changed to it? It said to attempt to conceal its past history.
Maybe.
But how did they get Seafield out of it first?
I don't know. Well, Lisheen would be the townland where the house is.
Oh, that's where the house is, Lisheen?
Yeah, in Lisheen House.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then they said, of course, the unsettling supernatural events resulted in the demise of the house. And then it was sold in 1938 and cleared all of its contents and left to fall into ruin. So it was sold, but do you know who bought the house?
I don't know who bought the house.
Why in the world would you buy it and then just let it fall apart?
Well, you buy it thinking that it's good, and then you walk into it and you see this thing appearing at you, and you probably just run for your life.
Well, when they bought it in 1938, do you know what kind of condition it was? Was it still fairly together?
Yes, because I think after that, things started being stolen out of the house, and the roof was actually removed.
I had read that. Why did they remove the roof?
Because probably they sold the tiles, and they probably sold whatever, the roof was probably removed by, not them necessarily, but probably whoever was kind of trying to make money on it. Because they knew that nobody was going near the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so let me see. So our last one is the Belvedere House. The Belvedere House and Garden Park.
It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It is absolutely lovely, but it has a horrendous history as well. It was owned by Robert Rochford, and he was a nasty little article. He married this girl, his second wife. He married her. She was only very young.
And was that Mary?
Mary, yes, Mary Rochford, and she was called Lady Belvedere, and she was a kind of an actress. She used to be a socialite in Dublin at the time, and they thought it a good idea to match her with this Robert, whatever his name, Rochford. So anyhow, he had two brothers. One brother was, let me just think, Arthur was the younger brother.
Was George?
George was the other brother. Now, they ended up having 3 sons and a daughter, but Robert used to leave quite a bit, and he'd spend a lot of time in Dublin and a lot of time in London, and he'd leave her kind of on her own in the middle of the country, and she ended up, because she was very, an artist. She liked company, she liked to socialise. That's how she lived. And all of a sudden she's in the middle of the country and she's no one to converse with, and she ends up making friends with Arthur, who lived not too far away. So she'd visit on a regular basis. Now the other brother, called George, never liked her, and he kind of coaxed some of the house staff, to put a rumour around that Arthur was having an affair with Mary. And Robert came home from one of his journeys, his obvious journeys, and he heard the story. He took her away from her children and he locked her away, and she was locked in the house for 30 years. Until eventually he died, and the son, one of her sons, released her, let her out. And her first words to her son was, "Well, did he die at last?"
Wow.
But a lot of there was a lot of nightlife in the place, and a lot of people visited it, and there was a lot of fights in it. Now, I know I have visited it with groups as well. I bring people there, and one of the days that we were there, we were brought from one room to another, and you'd be given the history and you'd be told all the different people that visited. Now, I have no sense of smell at all. I can't smell anything, but this particular day we walked into this room, and it was supposed to be haunted by one of the visitors, and she told me the name of the guy, and I just cannot remember it now. But we walked in there, and she's talking away, and I said to her, I says, "I wonder, did he smoke cigars?" And she says, "Yes, he always smoked cigars." And I says, "Because I can smell cigar smoke." And another girl that was in the tour behind me, she says, "I can smell it as well."
Wow.
So two of us could smell the cigar smoke. Somebody else walking into another room could smell a very sweet smell of roses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Probably coming from her.
Yeah, and I have no sense of smell, and the smell of cigar smoke was horrendous in that room.
Tell them about the jealous wall.
Oh, the jealous wall. Well, you see, then George, who did this story about Mary, while Robert was still alive, George decided that he was going to build a bigger house down the valley, and he was going to kind of be better than his brother Robert. And Robert was a very cruel, nasty, kind of a jealous guy, so he decided he did not want his visitors to be coming to the house and looking out and being able to see his brother's house. So he built this, it's called the jealous wall. Now, for the world, you would think, by looking at it, you'd think that it was the ruins of a castle.
Right, that's what it looks like.
It does. It looks like one wall of a castle. It really is very elaborate, but it's called the jealous wall so that nobody that's in the house can look down at the brother's house. Now, the brother's house has gone to rack and ruin. There's very little left of it. But at the time, it was supposed to be really a mansion. It was supposed to be way bigger than Robert's house, and he didn't like it at all. He was a very jealous, cruel kind of a person. But the wall is there to this day, and the gardens are there as well, and there's a fairy garden there actually.
That's what I read, a fairy garden. What is a fairy garden?
Well, it's beautiful. It's just there's lovely little ornaments and there's lovely little plants and everything, and you can just it is a place for fairies, and it is just nice, and there's a lot of wooden sculptures there as well.
So now, was the brother's house called the Tootham House? Tootenham House?
Oh God, yes, something like that. No,
it's Tootenham, Tudenham House.
Tottenham House.
Tottenham House.
Tottenham House, yeah.
Why? Okay, so did the brother just walk away from the house and it fell into ruins? Did they sell the house? What do you know the history on that one?
I don't know the story of that house, and nobody talks about that house. It just went to rack and ruin. I suppose he never left it to anybody, or nobody ever, and the government never took it over.
What a shame!
Yeah. It is a shame, really, in a way. It's a pity that but it's nothing left of it now.
Why would they? I don't get it.
I don't know,
Now,
and I mean, the job they have done on Belvedere House is really amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful house, and they've all the period furniture as well. And and it's where it. These people really knew how to pick their sites to build their houses on, because the scenery around it is absolutely gorgeous as well.
Yep, they're right by that lake.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a little folklore.
Yeah.
Okay, can I tell the viewers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this is called The Lady of the Lake, the Belvedere haunting. And a man was walking by the lake. Now there's two sides to this lake. Get this.
Yeah.
There's the Enel side and the Carrick side. So this man was walking by the lake on the Enel side, and he saw a slim woman dressed in dark clothes paddling in the water. No boat, but paddling in the water. She shouted something he couldn't understand. Then she hurried out of the water and she disappeared. Then a man on the Carrick side of the lake noticed the same woman a few days later, and this time she was wearing a bright blue cloak and a veil. Now on the Enel side of the lake stands the jealous wall, built by Robert Rockford, and people began wondering if this was the ghost of Lady Belvedere. I'll show you a picture of her again.
Yeah.
Who was locked up in the house 3 miles away, and she was 31 years she was locked up in that house.
She was, yeah.
The man spoke about his experiences at a local pub, and the word spread of the sightings, and soon this woman was seen at a number of places around the lake. Let me take the lake again. Every account was the same: a slim, beautiful, paddling, barefoot woman angrily in the water. The color of her dress or cloak would change. Her appearances was so frequent and topic that men went to the lake shore for the sole purpose to see her. But she would only appear to lone wanderers or fishermen who were not expecting to see her. Another man's encounter with the lady of the lake. When he saw her, her clothes were bright and illuminated. She was smiling, and instead of disappearing, she approached him and said, "At the bottom of the lake lies my treasure." Then she vanished, and no one ever reported seeing her again. Did you ever hear that story?
No, I did not.
That's weird.
No, I
Strange.
did not.
Well, that concludes our 5 haunted locations. There's many more that May goes to, but I picked out the 5 that I was really interested in.
There's another place actually. Your listeners might not know. Bram Stoker, the guy that was Dracula. Well, his parents are buried in Sligo town, and I'm going to be bringing my guests to that grave.
The parents are buried there?
Yeah, and they reckon that his first 7 years of his life was in Sligo, and it was during the Black Plague, and they reckon that his childhood and what he went through and what he saw during that time had a massive bearing on his writings. And that's where Dracula was actually, that's where Dracula came out of, was his time as a child during the Black Plague in Sligo.
Wow.
But if anyone wants to, just to let your audience know, Norene, we have still got some places on both of those tours. If anyone wants to come with us, we'd love to have them. If they go on our website, it's www.secretirelandtoursllc.com, and if they contact me, look at the page Secret Haunted Journey to Ireland. We are closing out we were supposed to be closing the registration on St. Patrick's Day, but we're going to give it another week, and then we're going to close it the following week. So if anyone wants to come with us, we would love to have you. It's going to be fantastic. Two tours, actually.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and the two tours will get together on the 31st, October the 31st and November the 1st, and we'll be together for that time. And we'll have traditional music, and we'll have fun in the pubs at night time, and we'll be staying in a castle one of the nights as well. We're actually staying in a castle one of the nights.
Do you know which one it is yet?
We're staying in Fitzpatrick's Castle in Killiney.
Oh, what
yeah,
fun.
I always try to get my visitors, no matter what tour they're doing, I like to have them stay in a castle the night before they leave. And we had a group, actually. Victor was with us in August, and there was this little girl with us, and there was another one of the women who had an obelisk, or one of those machines where you can hear a ghost talk. What do you call it?
A novelist?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, a novelist?
Yeah, she had one of those, and they went ghost hunting around the castle. And the little girl that was with us, she passed wind. And the obelisk said, "Ooh, I'm smelly."
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, that is funny. Oh my God. That's hilarious.
It is hilarious. It was very funny at the time. And Victor, being a medium, he would pick up a lot of things depending on where we go. And most of the time he would say that the ghosts that he encounters in all of these places, they're very amazed at the way he dresses. That would be a common thing. He would say they laughed at the way I was dressed. They wanted to know about why I was dressed the way I was.
Oh, really?
And that's a common thing. They find the way we dress very funny. Of course, we wouldn't dress the same way as they do. But there's a few more places, and then of course we're bringing people to see some amazing scenery as well. It's not just all hauntings and ghosts. I want to show you Ireland and all its beauty and all its all that it has to offer.
Oh God, I've always wanted to go to Ireland, but I think my days of traveling are over. But,
it's a great place.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, just gorgeous from all the pictures that I've seen. But isn't most of the locations in Ireland haunted because of its history?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because
I would think so.
I mean, the thing is, we have had such a horrendous history. The Normans came and the Vikings came and then the English came and the whole lot of them killed us. So we've had. I mean, the soil is soaked in blood, but we always make the best of it. We'll enjoy our hauntings and our history.
And you guys have so much fun. My sister took a tour to Scotland and Ireland, and she said those were her favorite locations, and the pubs and the fun and the singing and everything that goes on. She said it's just fabulous.
Yeah. And because I'm a traditional singer, and all of my sons play music, and I'm a recording artist as well, so I have a lot of musical friends all around Ireland, and no matter where I go, I can make a couple of phone calls and we can have a session of music.
Oh,
and that's where I go, so it's great.
Oh, what fun.
Yeah.
Well, I have your website I have it posted underneath the video on YouTube.
Brilliant.
You know, there's a viewer had a question. Her name is Dust Bunny, and she wanted to know, what are the properties of the stones, the ground?
The circle stones are crystal quartz. They're the ones that's used, and they're called gneiss, Gneiss. And a lot of the other stones that would have been put over them would have been just limestone. And these stones would take the energy from the ground. It would be just soil. Most of these cairns would be just on the soil. Now, the ones up on the mountain, again, it's just soil. It's a lot of it is peat, bog, and but the stones on the stone circles, they are called gneiss, Gneiss, and they're crystal quartz.
Wow. Are those, is that crystal quartz, is there a lot of them in the area, or did they have to bring them from another area?
They had to bring them from down south. A lot of them would have come from the south of the country, because mostly around my part of the country, it's all limestone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
if people just research the stone circles of Ireland or the underground passage tombs of Ireland, they'd learn an awful lot about it. But they're amazing places. They really are. They're amazing places. And if you're anyway in tune with nature, in tune with, if you're anyway open at all, you can feel the energy and you can feel what's going on around you.
Oh, gee, what fun. May, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It was so much fun, and I really enjoyed this. I haven't done a show like this. Is the first time I've done a show actually like this, and it's awesome. And like I said, next week is St. Patrick's Day, and it had to be. This was a fabulous show.
Everybody have a great St. Patrick's Day.
And you too, honey. You too. And good luck on your next tour. Hey, I just want to ask you one thing. You said that Halloween started in Ireland. Why is that? Tell us the story about that.
Yeah, it would be an old Celtic. It's actually the Celtic New Year. And Halloween would be it would be a pagan festival. And they would, a lot of times, what they do for the start of the new year, the Celtic New Year, they would do rituals like, for instance, the farmers would build fires on each end of their land, north and south, and they would run the cattle on the land through the fires. Now, they wouldn't go near the fires, but the fires was believed to remove any negative entities or negative spirits from the cattle, so that the new year would come along and they would all thrive. Everything would thrive, everything would grow. You know the lanterns that you know the pumpkin, for instance? Yeah. Well, that was originally a turnip, and the tradition was at home that the October the 31st, people would quench their fires. Now, people would have fireplaces in their houses, and they'd have big fires, but they'd always have a fire on. And even at night time, they would have cinders kept lit in the fireplace. But they would quench the fire, and they would scoop out the inside of a turnip, and they'd go to the festival of the fires, where, everybody, would be a communal thing. People would get a bonfire, and they'd go around it, and they'd play music, and they'd appease the spirits, let's say, or appease the fairies that's around them. And we'd throw, even to this day, on Halloween night, we would throw tea leaves out to the fairies to keep them happy. And even if I was at home now during Halloween, I would do that. It's just, something that you do. And anyhow, the people would take cinders or coal from the fire that was lit, the communal fire, and bring it back in the turnip to light their fire again for the new year.
Well, okay, like the tradition here in America, in the States, the kids go door to door with bags or whatever, and people give them candy. What did they do?
Well, we up until about 15, 20 years ago, we did not do that. We used to have, the kids would come to the house. There'd always be a Halloween party, and it was all kind of going back to pagan times. Like, for instance, and money would be thrown in a basin of water, for instance, and the child that would be able to go put their head into the water and grab the money with their teeth would be regarded as the one that was going to be rich from all of the group of children. That was the child that was going to be rich. Or if you were able to bite an apple that was hanging from the roof with your hands behind your back, you were the one that was going to fall in love first. You know, things like that. There was always barn bracks made, cakes with fruit in them, and an old ring would be put in the middle of the cake, and whoever got that ring in the slice of cake that they'd get would be the first one to get married.
And
it's all tradition and superstition, you know.
So do you still follow that tradition?
Yeah, they still do it at home. Yeah.
Okay, so did it come real that the person that got the ring got married, and what about?
No, not really, no.
Wouldn't that be something?
But you know, the funny thing is, kids do all this, and it's all from pagan tradition. But kids would do this, and then sure you forget about it, you know. And maybe I would get the ring this year, and you'd get it next year, and it's all a bit of fun, Noreen.
You know, there's another viewer that has a question, Robert Hanna. He wants to know: is there a lot of paranormal activity at that cemetery?
There's the one. It wouldn't be recorded, but I have not heard any locals talking about paranormal activity at the cemetery, but up on the mountain, where in Carrowmore, the other one up the mountain, when you go there, I don't know whether it's ley lines or what it is, but you definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, you can feel the energies in the place. This is where the UFOs are supposed to be hovering around. There's definitely very obvious energies up there. And I would personally, when I bring people up there, I would, before they go up onto the mound, I feel that I have to ask the spirits and I have to ask the fairies if it's okay to bring them. And I have to make sure that everybody knows that they are not to take anything from that site, because it is a sacred site. All of these sites are extremely sacred to the Irish and to the Irish people. And we don't remove stones, we don't remove anything from these sites.
So you believe in fairies?
Absolutely. And up in Carrowmore, we don't have fireflies, for instance. I was asked this in another program not so long ago. Have I ever seen a fairy? Well, I've been up there when I lived there, I used to go up there on a regular basis. And if I was ever, for instance, stressed, or I had something on my mind, or I was unsettled, I'd go up there and I'd sit on the ground, and I would ask the ground to take it from me, to just drain it from me. But I used to see little lights, little flickerings of lights in the bushes. And I know that there were fairies, because we don't have fireflies. We don't have anything like that at home in Ireland.
Oh.
And there weren't a dull light. They were a very bright light, but they'd be small, and they'd flicker, and it was like, and if you didn't, it would be on the corner of your eye, you'd see them. But I'm very, very aware of, definitely, I would make sure that I respect the spirits and the fairies that's up there.
You know, I had a friend, and she believed, well, she's still my friend. She believes in fairies, and every day she used to put out sweets for the fairies, because she said they liked sweets, they liked sugar. Do you know anything about that?
Well, and we would throw tea leaves out to them. Anything that gift they would accept. Now, for instance, Ireland is, during the Bronze Age, we had things. Did you ever hear of a ring fort or a fairy fort?
No.
Well, we have about 45,000 of them around, scattered around Ireland. There used to be, originally during the Bronze Age, right up until about the year 1000, there were fortified settlements. There would be circular, and there would be mounds where maybe 3 to 5 to 6 families would live a communal kind of a life. There would be a communal cooking area. There'd be a communal area where they'd hang out, and then there'd be their own chambers. And you know, after that time, all of these, and there were only fortified settlements because of wild animals, not that anyone was going to attack them or anything. So they kind of disappeared, or they kind of went into ruins, and they left these circular mounds, or they would leave a mound, a circular mound that would have trees growing in a circle, or you'd see sometimes along fields and places in Ireland, you would see a circle of mushrooms. Now, if you saw a circle of mushrooms, that is absolutely a fairy fort. But these circular mounds, they were called fairy forts because the people believed, and it's very, very well documented, that the folklore in different places. For instance, if a farmer had one of these circular mounds on his farm, he would never interfere with it, because it was believed that the fairies lived there and they used it as a portal to the underworld. And it was regarded as bringing very bad luck to the farmer, his animals, his crops, and his family. So no farmer, to this day, Norene, no farmer will touch a fairy mound, or a ring fort or a fairy fort. And to show you how important it is to the Irish people, planning permission in Dublin, they were doing a big road outside Dublin near the hill of Tara, and there was one of these ring forts, and they wanted to build the road right through it. They wanted to rip it up and build the road right through it, and the locals came out in force and they said no, and they still were going to do it. So the whole country came out and said, you're not touching the fairy fort, because nobody will drive a car on that part of the road if you interfere with the fairy fort.
Wow.
Yeah. And we have fairy trees as well. We have trees that you'd see in the farmer's land. It'll be a lone tree, it'll be an ash or a hawthorn tree, and it'd be kind of in a dip in the land, but the base of it would be all stone. And it was regarded as a fairy tree because we believed that the fairy put the stones around the base of the tree so that it would hide their entrance into the other world. And again, like that, the farmer will never interfere with the fairy tree. I wouldn't go into a ring fort if you paid me €1 million or $1 million, because it's believed that if you go in, you get lost. The fairies make you think that you're lost, and you could be in there for days. And I wouldn't touch a fairy tree. I wouldn't go near a fairy tree. To this day, I wouldn't do it.
So, wow. A fairy, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to bring you good luck?
No, it depends. It depends on whether they like you or whether they don't. And a lot of them can be very, very touchy or very wicked. You don't know what you're dealing with. For instance, there was a musician from my village who, he was a fiddle player. And it said he was an amazing fiddle player. Now, we were talking about 1930s. We have a commemoration, we have a festival to him every year in Gurchin, and he's known all around the world now. But the story went that he was coming home one night from playing for some dancers, and he ended up walking, he was probably drunk, I don't know, but he ended up walking into a fairy ring, and he got lost. Now, if I was walking the road with you, Noreen, and you saw me going into this ring, you'd see me coming out 5 minutes later. But when you go in there, time is not the same in there as it is outside. So you could think that you're there for days or weeks or months or whatever. And it's up to the fairies whether they let you out or not. Wow. Now, the thing about it was that this guy played some tunes for the fairies. He asked them if he plays some tunes for them, will they lead him out? And they said, well, if you play good enough, we'll make you better. and then you can go. And he was supposed to have left the fairy ring, and he became an amazing fiddle player, and he ended up actually going over to New York, and he started recording on 78 Records. Now he's a world-renowned fiddle player. Now he's dead a long time, but that was the story about him. That's how he got to be such a great fiddle player.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me see. I have another question for you. Unique Annie, who is one of our mods, and by the way, the mods Unique Annie, Cassandra, and Royce, they love you and they want you to come back. They want you to come back.
I will indeed.
Okay, Unique.
Come target with me, gang. We'd have great fun.
Unique Annie wants to know: do you have a Bigfoot in Ireland?
No, we don't have any Bigfoots or Sasquatches or anything like that. No, we don't.
Okay, so this question was asked by Wendy McKenzie, but I think you've already answered it. She wanted to know if you've ever seen a real fairy.
Well, I believe I have. I believe I have seen fairies up in Carrowmore. Absolutely. And I have great respect for them. I would not, if I ask permission to go to walk on that ground. So if I got any feeling at all that I wasn't welcome, I would turn and I'd be gone as quick as lightning.
Wow. Oh gosh. Did I ask you this? Did Robert Hanna, he wanted to know if there was paranormal activity. I think you already answered that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Looking to see if I can find a okay, my mod Royce's wanted to send me a picture of something, and I can bring him back on the show. Mai, that was so awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. I had so much fun with you. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, Norene.
It was just awesome. I want you to have a great time on your tours, and good luck with it. I hope you fill it up. I know everybody will have a wonderful time. If I could go, I would go. I would be there, believe me.
Yeah, we always have a great time. Actually, I had 2 tours with Victor last year, one in May and one in August. And 7 people from the May tour returned for the August tour. And I have 18 between the 2 tours returning in June with me for the Victor tour. So we always have an absolutely... And I bring them to different places. Different tours go to different places. Like this year, we're hitting the Game of Thrones places that were, the Game of Thrones locations.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I haven't seen that show, but I think that's one next on our list is the Game of Thrones.
Do you know that I haven't seen it either, Noreen?
Oh,
I have to
everybody loves it.
I'm studying it now to see what all this Game of Thrones is about, but I think it was fairly violent, as far as I know.
I think there was sex and all kinds of stuff in that show.
Yeah,
nudity.
I'm not great at watching violent stuff. I'm not good at that. It's a waste of my time because normally I'm like this. What's happening? What's happening? Is it gone? It's over.
Oh, May, thanks so much, honey, for being on the show. Such a pleasure to meet you, and I just had so much fun with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
And happy St. Patty's Day.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you didn't say St. Patty. For all your listeners, please, either say St. Patrick or St. Paddy's, but don't say St. Patty's because it's not.
Patty is the girl, Paddy is the man. And
Paddy
the thing is,
yeah.
try and find a banner that says St. Patty's Day. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Well, thank you much.
God bless everybody.
Good night. Thank you, honey.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, everybody, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a different show, and it was fun. I haven't done a show like that before, and I really enjoyed her. I hope you did too. Royce, if you want to call me and show me that picture that you're talking about, Royce is talking to me. He says that he has a photo from Ireland and has fairies in them. So if you can find that photo before I get off the show, come on, call me, let me know. Um, next, okay, so not next week. Anyway, thanks, May. Thank you so much for being on the show. We loved you. Um, let's see, not next week, but the week after, Sean Austin is coming back. And from Ghost Loop, that's on the Travel Channel. And he was also, and he's training, he's training with Ralph Sarchie. Remember he was on that show with Ralph Sarchie, something about See No Evil? It was where they would go into homes that needed exorcisms with really evil spirits. Well, Sean is training under Ralph Sarchie to do exorcisms. And they investigated the Amityville Horror House. And I believe they have EVPs, and he's got quite a story. And he's going to share that with us, not next week, but the week after. And I'm really looking forward to that. I would really like to get Ralph Sarchie on the show as well. And they can both talk about the Amityville house. I love that topic. Anything haunted, I love. So everybody have a great for the Irish St. Patty's Day next Tuesday. And thank you so much to my mods, Royce Hinman, Unique Annie, and Cassandra, for being here tonight. You guys need to thank them, because without them you wouldn't have the great chat room that we have. And I thank them so much for always being here with me. Royce, did you get that? Oh, you can't find it? Oh, okay. Well, I'm after Royce to do some shows with me, so I told him today. I know he's a little bit better today, but he's still not feeling that well, and he has a lot of medical issues. We need to please keep praying for him and sending him your positive energy and thoughts, as well as Cassandra and Unique Annie. If you would also keep them in your prayers, I'd really appreciate it. And I love all you guys. Thank you so much for being here at the shows. I see some regulars. Aaron Brody, I haven't seen you for a while. Let's do some shout outs. And I know, let me see. I'm going to do some shout outs now, okay? Let's see. Let me see if I can pull them out. Cassandra 50, Unique Annie, Royce Hinman, Paranormal, Irma Littler, Nordisduschland. Sorry. Tiger Jan, Robert Hanna, Pungai Fungi. I haven't seen you for a while. Chippa Terry. Hi, Chippa Terry. Aaron Brody. Hello. Shelly Michelle. L. Phillips. Hello. Thank you. Rachel Lang. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Let me see. Dust Bunny. Hi, Dust Bunny. Rachel Lang, Robert Hanna, Royce Hinman, Shelley, Michelle, Tammy Heitzman, thank you. The Haglin, thank you. Thanks so much. I know there was more. We had a nice crowd, and I know there were more. Carl White, Tall Cross was in. I know you're out there. Who did I miss? Oh, Tammy, thanks so much, honey. Thank you so much for the super chat money. Thank you so much. How nice. Thank you. Gideon Stupai, hi. Michelle Hayes. Who did I miss? Hi, guys. Did I miss anybody? Dust Bunny, yes. Hi, honey. Love you guys. You guys are always here for me, and I really appreciate it. Sandy Medarius. Anybody else want to shout out? Love you guys. Love back to you. Okay. Anyway, so I've been after Royce to get on the stick and to get his stuff together, because I want to do those ghost picture shows with him. he is so awesome with that. And I want to bring him on Skype so he can be my partner, co-host for that show, for the shows when we do those. And so, yeah, Royce, hurry up with that. I want to do some shows with you. Group hugs to everybody. Yes, we are family. We've been together for a long time. There you are, Carl White. Where's Tall Cross? Where are you? I know you're there because I saw you. Guys, if you would give the show a like, I'd appreciate that. And if anybody is new, if you would subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate that too. Okay, guys. So I guess I'm gonna go. And yeah, Unique Annie and Cassandra and Royce, we've been friends for a long time. Try our site. Where's your site? Paranormal Ermit Littler Nordis Deutschland? Where's your site? Maria Sandra Amador. Hi Maria. I love you too, Annie. Yeah. Yeah, oh, I love doing those shows with Royce. I think we've done 2 of them. I love doing those shows. Royce is so good because he's gifted, and he can see a picture and whoa, he can pick out the ghosts. Oh, Anita Ackerman, hi honey. And Chippeteri, oh yeah, long time with Chippeteri. Okay, well, okay, but well, email me. Paranormal Norddeutschland. Email me, ParanormalZoneTV@gmail.com. Email me your website. I'll check it out. Rachel Lang. Okay, so I'm going to go now. Have a great St. Patty's Day, and have your corned beef and cabbage. We will. That's my favorite, corned beef and cabbage. And I'll see you not next week, but the week after for an awesome show on the Amityville house. I can't wait. So love you guys, and I'll see you then, okay? If you ever want to message me, you have any topics for a show, you can get to me on Facebook. I have several Facebook pages. And let's see. And you can email me, ParanormalZoneTV@gmail.com. I always get my messages, okay? So I'm going to go now. Have a great, safe weekend. Be safe out there. Make sure you sanitize your hands. Wear gloves, rubber gloves if you go out to the store, and do not reuse them. Don't touch your face, and wash your hands as often as you can, okay? So please be safe out there. It's getting really, really bad. No more NBA basketball. All the events are being canceled. It's really, really scary. Really scary. Pray for our world, guys. Pray for it, please. All right, love you guys. I'll see you in 2 weeks, okay? Thank you so much. Love you. Good night, everyone.